Hi all, thanks a lot for joining. This is Rahul. So I hope you guys are able to hear me and able to see my screen. So there's a chat box. You can just type in and confirm me. Are you guys able to hear me? All right. Thanks for confirming. So we're going to start in another 2 minutes. There are some more people joining in, and then we're going to get started. Okay, guys, this is for some of the people who have connected via phone call might not be able to hear me. So the best audio option to connect with is computer audio. So let's wait for 2 minutes and then we're gonna get started. All right, guys. So let's get started. Okay. So guys, my name is Rahul and I'll be your instructor for the entire Selenium training. As far as my experience is concerned, I'm having over 13 plus years of experience in software testing itself. I used to work as a test manager with one of the company in Gurgaon in India. So in terms of automation, I'm having like more than 9+ years of experience in various automation tools. I've worked on QDP, UFT, Selenium, then worked on Appium, worked on API automation, REST assured. Recently, I'm practicing on the another automation tool some of you may have heard about, that is Cypress. So I have delivered a lot of trainings as a corporate trainer as well in automation to various companies across globe. Some in Delhi, NCR, some in Mumbai, in Bangalore, even in New York to a company called as Shutterstock.com. So like most of my experience is related to testing itself. So I believe I can see there's a huge audience today. So I believe most of you are from testing background. So there are many people who are already enrolled in the course, who have already finished the core Java sessions and about to start their Selenium sessions. And there are many people who joined today as a very beginner to this course with zero knowledge in programming and zero knowledge in automation, right? So there are many people who are attending it for the first time. So anyone who is from the development background, not from the testing background. So okay, guys, before that, I really want to make this session as an interactive session. It's not like for the whole 2 hours I'll be talking. So like by default, in this webinar session, you all will be on mute so that there should not be any background noise. So in case you have any questions, any queries, you can just ping it to me on the chat box provided in this GoToWebinar section. And even if you want to talk to me, you can just ping on the chat box that so that I can unmute you and you can directly talk to me and have cleared all your queries directly itself, right? So before we get started, do you guys have any questions, any queries, anything that you want to discuss? Yeah, this is the chat box, Lata. So there's a box saying question and answer, or maybe something mentioning chat. Just you can type it in that particular box. Okay, Ahmed is saying the latest Chrome browser does not work. I mean, Ahmed, Selenium is supporting all latest browsers. So in case something is not working, then you can show me the exception that you are getting and I'll help you in fixing that. How to practice Java, Siddharth? You'll be getting whole dedicated training on core Java after these demo sessions. So we're going to have 2 demo sessions, and these demo sessions will be talking about the automation basic concepts only. We're not going to touch in depth of programming because there are many people who are starting with the programming part. So after these 2 demo sessions, those are the people who will be going through the detailed core Java training first. Like that training will actually gonna help you in building a strong base on the basic programming concepts. So even if I talk about the programming part, it's not like you need to learn advanced programming, any advanced core Java framework. It's only very basic programming concepts which you may have studied it during your graduation, like if, else, loops, oops concepts, collections. If you guys have ever studied C, C++ in your graduation, you should be able to pick it up very easily. Certificate, although there is no official certification in Selenium, but yes, at times the organizations they want that you should get a certificate of your course completion, that you have successfully attempted the Selenium training. Yes, we do provide the certificate, which is actually provided at the end of the training. Okay. So Shivam is saying that he's not able to listen the audio. I'm just going to print this again. So you need to connect audio option as computer audio, then only you will be able to hear me. right? Any more questions before we get started? See, in this training, there are two instructors. I'm the one who will be taking your entire Selenium training. I'll be covering all major framework designing part, live projects, and especially for the core Java part, there's a dedicated trainer who's going to build your strong base on core Java. So there are many people who are attending today who have already completed the core Java part. And trust me, you're going to get one of the best core Java trainings. So after this training, I'm going to share you some of the recordings from the core Java training so that you can go through and you can analyze the training quality of core Java as well. Yes, Preeti will be working on 2 live projects. So we'll be designing end-to-end frameworks. Right. What all techniques that we are going to use in Selenium? Once your batch is completed, you should be capable enough to automate any website easily using all like locator techniques. If you may have heard about something called as XPath, CSS, dynamic element, complex elements, each and every element, feasible element on a web, you should be able to automate it. Yeah, we'll be including the CI/CD part as well. Okay, so the agenda and the duration of this entire course, the entire course will gonna take at least 3 months. So let me write it down over here as well. So duration will be somewhere around 3 months. So classes will be 2 hours every Saturday and Sunday. And the timings, the timings are fixed for this batch. That is 8:30 p.m. IST. You guys can convert it into your time zone. So it will go up till 10 p.m. or 10:30 p.m. depending on the topic that we are discussing. Right. And total duration, it will take at least 3 months. Yes, during the training, you'll be getting a lot of assignments, a lot of practical websites to automate. And like these are the things that you'll be doing mainly during the weekdays, and you can submit those assignments back to us. And you'll also be included in the WhatsApp group. So where you can discuss your queries, there will be other people as well added in the group. So you can also help each other in the queries, or you'll be updated with what all openings are there, interview questions, so resumes, all these things will be shared in the WhatsApp group itself. So how many sessions will be having for Selenium only? See, if we talk about, let's say we are starting this batch, so around, let's say 2 sessions, we are doing it initially as a demo introductory session. Then you'll be having somewhere around 13 to 14 sessions on core Java, and then 13 to 14 sessions on Selenium. So that is the rough idea that it will going to take at least 3 months, or could be one more week than that. Right. So it's a very detailed program. So don't worry about it. No, this course is not going to cover the manual testing part. We are focusing on the automation. Okay, what is the course fee? I'll gonna give you all these details. I must have dropped you an email as well. You must have received an email from trainer@way2automation.com. So all those details are mentioned over there. But yes, I'll be sharing these things at the end of the session as well. Selenium, how many weeks? At least 7 weeks it will gonna take for Selenium. Yes, all the sessions will be recorded. So you should be able to access the recordings of your batch as well as the previous batches as well as all future batches as well. So you'll be provided access to all video lectures as well. Sure, I'll gonna let you know about those websites where you can practice as well. All right. Can we convert manual experience in automation? Sure. I mean, if you thoroughly practice for whatever that's been taught for 3 months, I can sure that you should be capable enough to add at least 2 to 3 years of your current experience in automation, because we'll be automating the practical websites, the live applications as well. And we'll be working on 2 live projects. We'll be covering end-to-end framework designing. So the same approach that is followed in the industry, we are actually going to learn the same stuff. So if you practice thoroughly, then you should be able to justify 2 3 years of your experience easily. Are we going to cover APM? APM basics will be included. APM is for mobile automation testing. So like I'm gonna let you know how to configure APM, how to run your test on real mobile device. So these are the part that I'll be covering. Rest, you're gonna get access to the complete video library that I've designed, which is somewhere around 70 hours of videos on mobile automation that covers both Android, iOS part, mobile automation frameworks. All these things will be provided. So Vadika is saying that in case if you got any issues in your future project, see, you get lifetime support. It's not like during the training only you're gonna get support. You will be added to the WhatsApp group for the lifetime itself. Whenever you have any queries, any questions, you can post it to the group, or you can directly add me on Skype. My Skype ID is Selenium coaching. So you can add me on Skype, and whenever you have any doubts or queries, you can directly reach to me. Right? Okay. Shomir is talking about API. So API is another huge course. So API automation. Okay. I see. There are many people who are not familiar with what API is, what REST is. So let's just get started with the basics of automation, and let's just include all these things in the discussion rather discussing it in the chat group, right? And then you have any questions, any queries, then you can let me know. Let's first get started with the training, right? So yeah, we'll be using Eclipse itself. All right, so let's get started. So I know, I mean, this is a very basic question, and I believe most of you are already familiar with this term, that what exactly is Selenium. But still, I want to hear from the people who are very new to the Selenium industry. So what is Selenium? What do you understand by Selenium? What is Selenium? Anything in just one liner. You can type it in a chat box, or in case you want to talk, then you can just let me know and I'll unmute you. Okay. So I got a couple of answers. It's an API, it's a free tool, it's a database. It's a database. It's automated test for web application. Okay, it's a framework that helps in automating websites, an API for automation testing, open source automation testing tool. Okay, Selenium is WebDriver. It's an automation tool, open source. Okay, so 70% of the answer I got that Selenium, it's an open source automation tool, for web-based application testing, and only web-based application testing. So Selenium can automate only web applications. So what all type of applications are there? Apart from web-based application testing, you must have done manual testing, or may not have done even a manual testing, but you must be familiar with what all type of applications are there. Like we have web-based application. Any other type of applications are there apart from web-based? Any other that you know? Desktop-based, desktop apps. Native are related to mobile applications, in which we have native apps, we have hybrid apps, we have web apps, we have desktop apps. Anything else API based? So we have API that are called as web services. mainframe applications. So mainframe or something similar to database applications, right? So these are the major applications where we generally perform testing on, right? We have web-based applications, we have desktop application that installs on our laptop or desktop, and then we perform testing on it. We have mobile applications, right? Mobile testing is very important these days because every company who has their web applications, they have their mobile applications as well, right? And most of the time we are traveling, we don't carry our laptop along with us, right? Most of the time we are purchasing stuff from these mobile applications. Like we have Amazon app, we have Google Pay, and number of applications are there, right? So API is another important area. What API is, I'll be explaining that in some time. Then we have databases like SQL, MySQL. We have mainframe applications. We have big data, Hadoop, ETL, right? So all these are somewhere related to database. But if I talk about Selenium, Selenium is only for web-based application testing. But still, the demand of Selenium is very huge. Like almost every testing opening you come across, Selenium is like a prerequisite in 90% of the openings. Even if you're going for manual testing, you may gonna see that in their requirement, in their job description, somewhere Selenium is mentioned. Why it is so? Why Selenium is very popular? Why not other automation tools? Have you heard about any other automation tool for web-based apart from Selenium? UFT, right? So UFT is there, QTP, UFT, one of the same thing, right? Catalan, Cypress, right? Jasmine is a framework, Ranorex, Sequely. Mhm. So yeah, lot of automation tools are there. But some of that you just mentioned, like Catalan, Protector, right? These are generated from Selenium itself. Like somewhere they are like a wrapper over Selenium. Protector is a wrapper over WebDriver JS, right? So initially, if I mean, these are the tools that you may have heard about from the past 3-4 years. Selenium is like very popular and is there in the market since long time, right? And if you talk about the competitor of Selenium, prior to Selenium it was QTP, which we call it as UFT these days, right? But there was a time when QTP market was very strong. If we talk about automation openings, most of the openings were related to QTP. But now companies are switching towards Selenium. You'll find very less openings of QTP UFT these days. So why it is so? Why companies are moving towards Selenium? Why not QTP? Why not UFT? Because it's an open source. So open source means there is no license required to work on Selenium. It's completely free of cost, right? Anyone can download Selenium, can configure and start working on it. There is no license required. Whereas if we talk about QTP, UFT, we have to purchase a license, which is very expensive for a company. A single user license somewhere costs around 2,000 to 4,000 USD. And if a company is going for a concurrent license of 50 users, it will going to cost a huge amount. Whereas the same functionality, Selenium provides absolutely free of cost. Just that Selenium can automate web-based application, whereas QTP can automate desktop as well as web-based applications. But if you talk about current market, like the current industry, 75% of the applications these days are accessed via URL, right? Most of the applications are web applications these days because it's the time of cloud computing. Everything is on web, right? Even if you are trying to access like Excel, Word, PowerPoint, you can also access, I mean, you'll get a cloud format of this via Google Apps as well, right? We have Google Sheets, we have Google Docs, which is just like a replica of your desktop application, right? So majorly projects are web based these days, and Selenium is one of the best automation tool that can handle 90% of the things easily on a web-based application. So desktop demand is very less these days. So these are some of the reasons why QTP is like almost gone from the market, because it's not open source. There's a huge license cost for it. And then when same thing Selenium is providing absolutely free of cost, why would one go for license, right? And not just this, there are n number of other features which make Selenium better than QTP. What all those features are there, we'll be discussing about it in some time. But apart from Selenium, QTP, do we have any automation tool for mobile applications? Anything popular that you have heard about mobile apps? APM, Catalan, lot of APM answers. Exactly, APM Studio. So APM is one of the most popular tool for mobile automation testing. Like we have Selenium as a popular tool for web-based, APM is popular for mobile. Rest, there are other mobile automation tools as well. There's Monkey Talk as well, Test Complete as well, and number of automation tools for mobile part as well. But APM is again very popular because of APM is also completely open source. Okay, you are unable to view other chats because this is a GoToWebinar session. So GoToWebinar I mean, does not allows you to see other chat. But in case you want to see what are all others are saying, I can just do a print over here. Right. So there is something called as GoToMeeting. So GoToWebinar has two tools. One is GoToWebinar, one is GoToMeeting. So in GoToMeeting, like we should be able to see what others are actually typing. So GoToWebinar does not allow us that. Maybe once we start with actual batch, because GoToMeeting has a limitation. We cannot have like more than 25 participants added in a group. So in GoToWebinar, there is no limit. Right. Okay. So that's fine. Now let's come back over here. So mobile is this. Anything that you heard about API? Any automation tool for API? Anything for API? Okay. Also do some part of API testing from JMeter as well. And then there's something called as rest assured, right? So most of these things are open source. Just for SOAP UI, we have a pro license as well. But these days, see, in web services, we have one is REST and one is SOAP. So SOAP is almost out of the market. So what these days companies are following is RESTful APIs. Now, what are RESTful APIs? We're going to have a detailed discussion on it. But these are some of the tools which are for API testing. And anything that you know for database. So database is like we have all the vendors like SQL is there, MySQL is there, Oracle is there, Big Data is there, Hadoop is there, right? And a number of applications through which we can perform SQL queries and we can test those queries as well. MongoDB is there, and a number of tools are there, right? But again, if I come back over here, so we have started the discussion with what is Selenium, and Selenium comes only for web-based application testing. And still you can see Selenium is very popular. Although Selenium can test only web applications, Selenium cannot test these applications. But still Selenium is very popular, right? Almost every next opening, the prerequisite is Selenium. This is because if you know Selenium, you should be able to work on all these things as well. Not related to manual testing, but the automation of these things, right? Because even if you talk about desktop applications, there are some tools that you can integrate with Selenium and you can automate the desktop applications as well. If I talk about APM, APM is nothing. It's a wrapper over Selenium WebDriver API. If I talk about rest assured, this is again something related to Java part, right? So all these things are somewhere related to Selenium. And okay, how Eclipse is related to Selenium? See, Eclipse is just an editor where you'll be writing your core Java programming, right? Eclipse has nothing to do with Selenium. We write Selenium scripts or Selenium code in Eclipse. We can choose any editor. We can even write it in on Notepad or Notepad++. We can use IntelliJ as well. There are n number of editors available in the market. But yes, Eclipse is very popular. 70% of the companies are using Eclipse. Why? Because Eclipse is open source. No license required to work on Eclipse. Now, what is Eclipse? If you guys have not seen Eclipse, I believe 70% of you have already seen it, but the one who are starting right now. So I'm going to show you all the prerequisites before we get started, right? So now the other thing, as we have mentioned, it's an open source automation tool. So this is the main thing, tool. Selenium is not a tool. Selenium is not an automation tool. QTP is an automation tool. Postman is a tool. SOAP UI is a tool. All these are application tools. UFT is a tool, but Selenium is not a tool. Why Selenium is not a tool? Because you cannot install Selenium. You'll not see in a tool. What we get is some setup file, a exe file, which we double click, we do next, is get installed on our machine, provide us a platform where we can use multiple features of that tool. We can do record and play, we can do scripting. There are a number of features which we can access from a tool. But we cannot do these things in Selenium because we cannot install Selenium. Even there is no GUI application in Selenium. There is no web application called as Selenium. You cannot see Selenium. It's not a tool. If it is not a tool, then what exactly Selenium is? It's an API, it's a library. Okay, so most of the people are saying that it's an API, a library, a framework, a project, collection of jars. So all these things are true for Selenium, right? Although we call it as collection of tools, but it is not exactly a tool because you cannot install it. So it's an API. What is an API? It's a library, it's a framework, it's a project, collection of jars. Why we are saying collection of jars? Jars is something called as Java archive. Now, before we jump on to what exactly is jar or what exactly is an API, can someone tell me some features of Selenium? Anything that you know about Selenium? Apart from this, whatever that we have listed down, anything else that you know about Selenium? Anything? WebDriver? So what is WebDriver? So if we talk about components, how many components are there in Selenium? 4. What are those 4? RC, WebDriver, IDE, grid. Exactly. So these are the 4 most popular components of Selenium: IDE, RC, WebDriver, grid. Out of these components, what are the one that companies are currently using? Or you'll find it in the latest version of Selenium. So WebDriver is what that companies are using. And what all components are there in latest version? WebDriver and grid. RC. Okay, tell me what is the latest version of Selenium? 3, 4, 3.19, 4. Is 4 officially launched? Not yet. Beta version, not even beta version. It's a alpha version at the moment, right? Okay, tell me which is the main website of Selenium? Okay, most of you know the new website. Most of you are mentioning the old website. So the new website is selenium.dev, exactly. So selenium.dev. Initially, it was seleniumhq.org. So this is the new website of Selenium. So over here, you can see Selenium automates browsers. That's it. Selenium is only for web-based testing. Anything and everything available on web can be easily automated using Selenium, right? And if you go to the download section over here, you'll see that the latest and the stable version of Selenium is Selenium 3. And 141.59 is the build number. So this is what the latest, that is Selenium 3.0 or 3.141.59. If we talk about Selenium 4, that is currently the alpha version. Very soon, Selenium 4 is going to hit the market. But right now, the current version is Selenium 3, which includes the components that is ID, WebDriver, and Grid 3. So prior to this, it was Selenium 2, which includes ID, RC, WebDriver, and Grid 2. And prior to this, it was Selenium 1, which includes ID, RC, and Grid 1. Right? And now Selenium 4 is going to hit the market very soon. But we'll be working on the latest version itself, that is Selenium 3. I have also included some examples on Selenium 4. I'm going to give you access to the video library, which covers the Selenium 4 part as well, right? The Grid 4, the WebDriver 4. There are many components I've covered from Selenium 4 as well, right? But those are not very stable at the moment. You can still, in case you want to play around Selenium 4, you can do that thing as well. It is almost similar to Selenium 3 itself, but our focus will be on the latest version, that is 3.141.5. It's not going to be a lot of different in Selenium 4. The basic concept that we are studying in Selenium 3 will remain the same. And then there are some new things which are added in Selenium 4 that you'll be seeing only in Selenium 4 itself, right? But 90% of the things which are in Selenium 3.141.59 will work in Selenium 4 as well, right? Now, which company came up with Selenium? Selenium was originally developed by Jason Huggins at ThoughtWorks. Exactly. So ThoughtWorks is the one who designed Selenium, and a developer behind the same is Jason Huggins. So in the year 2004, he started this project. So long time back, almost 16 years, Selenium is in the industry, right? So it was started in 2004 as one of the development project that Jason Huggins started in order to automate his daily routine tasks. He has created a small library. That library went up to such an extent they thought of giving it some name, and they came up with a name called as Selenium. Now, why only Selenium? There's a history behind this as well. As we all know that the biggest competitor of Selenium in 2004 as well, it was qtp market was very strong those days, right? And they created a automation tool parallel to qtp which can do almost the same operation, and they have given the name to that project, to that automation tool, as Selenium. Now, why only Selenium? This is because if we talk about qtp, exactly, Wilfred, which company came up with qtp? Whose component, whose product is qtp? HP has later on HP took over QTP from some other company, right? So initially it was Mercury. So it was called as Mercury QTP, Mercury Load Runner, right? And Mercury Windrunner. There were a number of automation tools Mercury has introduced. Later on, HP has acquired it. And then they changed the name of QTP to UFT, right? But if you talk about Mercury in general terms, what exactly is Mercury? I believe every one of you have seen Mercury somewhere. So have you guys seen Mercury? Yes, exactly, in thermometers. So mercury is basically a poisonous element. There's a saying, if someone breaks thermometer and someone intake mercury, then he's gonna die. So if someone intakes mercury, then we give him an antidote so that he may survive. And that antidote is selenium, right? So selenium is basically an antidote to mercury. Selenium kills mercury. That is the reason they have given this project name as Selenium. So to end the market of QTP mercury. And up to such an extent, they are successful as well. Not just because of the cost, not just that it is open source. There are a number of reasons behind it why Selenium is very popular in the industry. Right. So initially, they started with the very first version of Selenium, like they created a component called as IDE. IDE is nothing, it's just a record and play plugin. Record and play plugin, as in it was a plugin to Firefox. Now it is available with Chrome as well. Record and play is something like this. If you may have seen some record and play feature, this is now available on Google Chrome as well, right? So this is what IDE is. It gets installed on uh, your browser itself. So if you say record a new test in a new project, give the project name. Let's say I'll give it a name as Google project. Click on OK. Give the base URL http google.com and click on start recording. So now it launches a browser. We're going to type something. You can see Selenium ID is recording. So I'm going to type Selenium, click on this, click on any link, and then close the browser. So whatever actions that I have performed are all recorded over here. You can again play back all these actions. You can first stop the recording from here, give the test name as Google test, click on OK, and can play back the test from here and see all the actions are being performed. There are some additional weights that you may need to add over here because the action just stopped over here, but now the complete test is executed, right? So this is what Selenium ID is. It's just a record and play tool, right? So most of the people who generally gets started with Selenium, they try to play with this record and play tool. And what exactly we do, see, once we are done with this record and play, what we do is, if I go to this test, we can export it in a form of some coding. Could be a C#, Java, JavaScript, Python, Ruby. So if I click on export as a Java code, I'll go to desktop, I'll just save this. See, there's a file, a Java file generated. If I open this, right click and open it with Notepad, you can see there's a program written over here. This is what your Selenium code. So normally people, they record and play, they get the code from this record and play component, and they try to do some modification and then run the code. And they copy this code and use it in Eclipse and then run it. But the code is not at all complex. It's not like a very complex or a very difficult code that we need to record and play to achieve this code. This is very simple code. Once you know what all these things, what is find element, what is window, what is get, once you know all these things, you'll never prefer working on a record and play environment. This is because, I mean, record and play has so many drawbacks. If I talk about practical work in industry, no one is using Selenium IDE record and play component at all. This is because there are a lot of drawbacks associated with Selenium IDE. So everyone is working on the programming part itself, because the programming part of Selenium is very, very powerful as compared to any other automation tool in the industry. Whereas if we talk about QTP, they have mostly invested in the record and play feature. The record and play of QTP is very strong. Even the programming part is strong, but Selenium, as I said, it's not a tool, and QTP is a tool. That is what the plus point that Selenium has, that it is not a tool. So what is the advantage? I mean, if Selenium is not a tool, then what is the advantage? And if Selenium and if QTP is a tool, and if there are other automation tools are there, what is the disadvantage with the tool? The most disadvantage is with a tool is every tool has got some boundary, as in whosoever have developed QTP must have added 1000 features to QTP. Now when you're automating your website, you'll be using those 1000, you'll be using functionality from those 1000 features only, right? What if you come across a scenario where you are not able to find any feature to automate that particular scenario through QTP? So what will you do? Either you'll go to HP, you'll contact their customer service that I want to automate this functionality, I want to get some feature, but I'm not able to find it. Then they're going to tell you, we have an add-on to support this feature, but you have to purchase that add-on from us. But again, add-on is also developed by a developer, right? So it's not like for every, because when we do testing, we do a lot of permutation and combination. And it doesn't mean that for every permutation and combination, there is a feature available, there is the add-on available, right? Because every tool has got some limited set of features. And you can use only those features to automate your functionality. So a tool has some boundaries. But if we talk about Selenium, Selenium is not a tool. Selenium is just this plain programming. This is just a basic core Java. There is no advanced core Java, advanced Java in Selenium. It's just basic core Java. Anything that is feasible in Java, you can achieve that thing with Selenium. You can integrate that thing with Selenium, because Selenium has got no boundaries. Anything. You must have heard about a lot of things integrated with Selenium. Can you name some of those things? Anything that you may have heard is integrated with Selenium? TestNG. So TestNG is there, JUnit is there, Log4j, Sikuli, extend reports, ReportNG, POI, Maven. Maven is there, Ant is there, Gradle is there, Git, GitHub, SVN, Jenkins for CI/CD. Anything else? Yeah, Ant I've already mentioned. Database, JDBC. Yeah. So BDD or TDD or data driven or keyword driven or hybrid or page objects or page factories or Cucumber. These are all design patterns, or you can say we call it as automation frameworks here, right? Sikuli, AutoIT are almost similar sort of usage. Robot, so it's a robot class. Robot class is something else, and robot framework is something else. Anything else apart from this? So whatever that you have mentioned right now, they have nothing to do with Selenium. They're not part of Selenium. All these things that you have listed over here, these are all separate utilities or separate projects or separate APIs or separate tools. They have nothing to do with Selenium. They are not part of Selenium. But without integrating these things, you cannot create a live project. You cannot create an automation framework. We'll be learning all these things in depth in this course itself. Right? So if I talk about TestNG, JUnit, this is basically Java frameworks. Not only testers, even developers are using it for their core Java project. Log4j is something for generating logs. SQL Auto IT is to handle some window-based elements which are not web-based. Robot class is again something, some actions which are not handled via Selenium. We integrate robot class for it. What is this? I'll let you know once we start with the programming part. Then extend report. So at times when we are working on an automation framework, so for what we want to achieve from automation, we want to achieve the same thing like the manual testing that we are doing. At the end, we get the results, how many test cases are passed and how many test cases are failed. That is what we do in manual testing. If expected is equal to actual, then the test case is passed, otherwise the test cases fail. Same thing we want to automate it, right? So that we need not to manually test the application again and again. Let's say if there is an application, I want to test it with 100 users, same test cases with 100 users. If I do it manually, then I'll end up my entire month in testing one application with 100 users, performing all 1000 test cases 100 times for different users, same 100 like same 1000 test cases for 100 users. And if I automate it, I'll keep all those 100 users in Excel and tell my Selenium code to read the users from Excel and test the entire website. I've already automated it. I've already written a code for it. Then just I'll gonna run my code, and for each and every user, it will gonna perform the same 1000 test cases. And at then it will going to tell me what all test cases are passed, what all test cases are failed, and we're going to generate some interactive reports using some other third-party utilities called as extend reports, called as report-ng. Right? Excel integration is done using this POI API. Then we have Maven. What are these things? Like people who are not at all familiar with Maven, might gonna take some time to understand what is Maven, what is Git, right? I'll be explaining all these things step by step, right? But yes, these are some of the things which are integrated with Selenium. Selenium itself, all these components that we have talked about, covers only and only 25% of role in your entire automation project. Selenium is just 25%. And rest 75% is covered by these things, majorly the core Java part. And no need to afraid from core Java. 90% of the audience who are joining today are from manual testing background itself. There are very less developers who are joining. There are some developers who move into automation as well, Selenium automation. But today we have so many audience which are mainly from the testing background. Right? So we're going to start core Java from scratch. So don't worry about it. Core Java programming is very simple. It's the same concept you may have seen in your graduation, and now you are practically going to implement it. Right? But this is what the 75% coverage we're going to integrate with Selenium. Right? Okay, so now let's come back over here. So we are talking about API, right? We just mentioned over here something called as POI API. We mentioned something related to JDBC. Again, this is an API. A lot of APIs. Log4j is an API. TestNG, JUnit, these are also APIs, right? So what exactly is API? What is an API? Okay, Nikita, what if you're not logically strong? For that purpose itself, we'll be going through the complete core Java training. So once you practice all those things thoroughly, you should be logically strong as well. Okay, API, application programming interface. That's a full form, right? So what is application programming interface? What is an API? What is an API? What application programming interface consists of? What it contains? Which connects source and destination. Okay, it's an interface between what, two programs. It's a layer between UI and DB. Okay, so first of all, when we are talking about API, don't just only relate it with web services. These are also APIs, right? Where we send requests and get the response, right? So these are also APIs. Web services are also called APIs. We do API testing, but API itself is a huge term. It not only includes web services, right? So what API contains? What is there inside an API? What is written inside an API? Pseudocode, code, set of functions, methods, protocols, tools, code, okay, methods, jars. Okay, if we're talking about jars, we are talking it specifically related to Java, right? I was talking about what all things that you know in Selenium, what all functionalities. So no one mentioned that Selenium, it supports multiple languages. Multiple languages like Java is there, C# is there, Python is there, Ruby is there, Perl is not there, JavaScript is there, and PHP is there, right? So all these languages are supported by Selenium. Then it supports multiple platform as well. Platform as in the OS. So we can work on Windows, we can work on Linux, we can work on Mac, we can work on iOS, we can work on Android, we can work on Solaris. All major operating systems are supported by Selenium. Yes, we have got a multi-browser support as well. So you can run it on Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Opera, Edge, IE, all various browsers are supported by Selenium. The support audience is huge. That is correct. Now, Selenium, initially, as I talked about, it started by ThoughtWorks. But the initial component, Selenium 1.0, is not a very big success. There were a lot of drawbacks in Selenium 1.0 version. So all these drawback was actually recognized by one person in 2006, and his name. So who is the one who started with Selenium 2.0? Which company? Who is the founder of Selenium? See, founder of Selenium was ThoughtWorks itself. But ThoughtWorks started with IDRC grid. Later on, WebDriver was there was some other founder of WebDriver. Who is that? Anyone knows which company came up with WebDriver? Who started WebDriver? Google. Google started WebDriver. HP, no. So exactly, Shomer, you are correct. No, not Oracle. So Google is the one. I mean, there's a guy named Simon Stewart. So in 2006, I mean, he used to work as a lead developer with Google, where he started another project parallel to Selenium named as WebDriver. which was officially launched in 2011 July after merging this WebDriver with Selenium. That's the reason we call it as Selenium WebDriver or Selenium 2.0. So 2.0 contains your WebDriver as well as RC, right? Because initially people started with Selenium 1 and a lot of companies were working on RC, and all of a sudden they had a merger and they said that stop using RC and start using WebDriver now. They have deprecated RC. Right, into they have deprecated RC. Deprecation means that you can still use it, but we are not going to support it anymore. In case any bugs, any issues, they came in this version in RC, we are not going to fix it because we have already mentioned that you should now start migrating your projects to WebDriver. So WebDriver was created by uh, Google itself. Initially Google, then since it's an open source project, many developers from different organizations have contributed into the development of WebDriver. Even Google development team itself have designed many components in WebDriver. They are still using WebDriver to test their functionality, a lot of functionalities. And then developers from Adobe, from Facebook, from n number of big organizations have contributed into the development of this WebDriver. That is the reason why WebDriver is very popular in the industry. Even you can work on WebDriver. If you're good in coding, it's an open source project. You can create a functionality, you can check into their repository. If they like it, they're going to include it. That is how open source project means. Open source does not only mean that it's free of cost. It is free of cost, but open source means anyone can contribute into the development part as well, right? So that's the reason uh, Selenium is called as open source. So 2.0 covers this IDE, RC, WebDriver. Later on, they have removed RC, and now we have only IDE, WebDriver, and Grid. IDE, we've already seen what is IDE. It's just a record and play component. Now, what is RC, what is WebDriver, and what is Grid? RC and WebDriver is the coding library. It's the actual coding library. Initially was RC, then came WebDriver. RC library was very small, right? There were very limited functionality available, but WebDriver is quite huge, right? It's a very huge library. Anything you want to automate on a website, you'll find a feasible method available in this WebDriver API. So RC and WebDriver is related to the coding part. Then what is Grid? The last component is Grid. Although we're going to have a detailed discussion on what WebDriver is, how we're going to configure it, what all components are there, right? But this is just like an overview. So what is Grid? For parallel testing on multiple machines. How about others? What is Grid? Grid for parallel execution of different browsers. Okay, multiple browsers, cross browser and cross platform. So you must have heard about a term called as BCT, browser compatibility testing, where let's say we have some set of test cases written. Now our client wants that this should work. You should test it on all different browsers, because end user could use anything, right? They could use IE as well, they could use Chrome as well, Firefox, different version of Firefox. I'm not sure, some user is using 70 version, some is using 68 version of Firefox. So you need to perform a testing in such a way that our website, our application should work absolutely fine on all major browsers. And not just browser. These days, there are many people who are working on Linux machines, on Mac machines, right? Even they are accessing our websites through Android and iOS, right? Through smartphones as well. So our application should be tested on cross-platform as well. And this is the biggest disadvantage of QTP, that if you know that QTP, it supports which language? Which language QTP supports? VB, Visual Studio, VB Script, exactly. So QTP supports VBScript. If I talk about VBScript, which operating system supports VBScript? Windows, exactly, Windows only. Because VB is a component of Microsoft and it runs only on Windows. It means if you are using QTP, you're restricted to Windows only, right? And these days there are many people working on Mac machines, on Linux machines. So clients want that the application should work on different platforms as well, whereas QTP only supports Windows. And if you talk about Selenium, we have just seen how many languages Selenium supports: Java, C Sharp, Python. Not just a scripting language. VBScript is a very small scripting language. Whereas if we talk about Java, C Sharp, Python, these are purely object oriented, very huge languages, right? Specifically, if we talk about Java, if you have ever installed Java, the very first message you're going to see is that 3 billion devices runs on Java. So be it Linux, Mac, Android, iOS, Windows, any operating system you name is supported by Java. And if we are running our Selenium code in Java, we can execute that code in any operating system that we want. And that too completely free of cost. No license required to work on Selenium and no license required to work on Java. Although the latest version of Java, there are some license part as well, but we'll be using one of the most stable version of Java, that is 1.8. So that is completely open source. No license required to work on Java. So this is one of the best reason to use Selenium. You can use it with any language, any popular language you want. See, language support doesn't mean that if my website is built up in, let's say, .NET, then I need to learn Selenium with C Sharp. Now, if it is built up in Ruby on Rails, then I again need to learn Ruby. It doesn't mean that, right? So language means it has got a multi-language support. It means whichever background you are coming from. There are some developers who are very good in Java. Now they want to work on Selenium. So they'll not be migrating themselves to C Sharp or PHP in order to work on those websites. Any one language that you are expert with, you can use that language and automate any website built in any language. You just need to know one language and you can automate any website built up in any language. If you know Java, you can automate a website in of PHP, of Ruby, of Python, any language that it is built in, right? And language as well, just the basic part. No advanced Java is required, right? So that is what the language support is. Now we were talking about grid. So most of you says that grid is for parallel testing. Grid execute parallel test cases. Grid is not for parallel testing. So parallel testing is something like, let's say if we have 10 test cases, one of the way to execute test cases one by one in a sequence. The other way parallel is I can run all 10 at the same time and all 10 start running on different browsers. That is what parallel testing means. So parallel testing task is not of grid. Exactly, Prerna. So parallel testing task is of TestNG. Parallel testing is supported by this Java framework, TestNG or JUnit. Grid is to distribute the test cases on remote machines. So grid is something like this. In grid, we have something called as a hub and nodes. Nodes and hub are nothing. These are your physical machines itself. So let's say this is a window machine where you have your 1000 test cases. This is a Linux machine running Firefox on it. This is a Mac machine running Chrome on it. This is again a window machine running Edge on it. Now you want that when you run your test cases, it should be executed parallelly on these machines. Because what happens if we talk about browser compatibility testing? As a manual tester, how we do browser compatibility testing, let's say my client says you need to finish up with the testing on different browsers and different machines. So in order to do that, you need to allocate your entire team. Some of the people will be working on Windows, some will work on Linux, some will work on Mac, one will pick I, one will pick Chrome, one will pick Edge. So the entire team will be executing the same set of 1,000 test cases. Now, Grid actually automates the entire process. There is no physical interference. If we have to execute 1,000 test cases, we'll keep all the test cases over here on one machine, which we call it as hub. And the connected machines will be your node. This is node 1, this is node 2, and this is node 3. So all these are connected machines. Connected machines will be your, like the remote machines. So once you execute the 1,000 test cases from here, it will be parallelly executed on all these machines. Now, not just parallelly, it will be remotely executed. It will be executed on remote machines. Whether you want to execute it parallel or sequential, that thing is decided by TestNG framework. So TestNG framework will decide that part. Whether you want to execute it on like all the test cases parallel, or you want to distribute your test case. Distribute as in you can have 300 test cases run on this machine, 400 on this machine, and remaining 300 on this machine. So that configuration can be achievable using this TestNG framework. But Grid is to distribute the test case. And there is no physical interference over here. So that is what Selenium Grid is. We'll be designing an architecture. We'll be using the grid part as well. I'm going to show you how to connect, how you create a hub, how to create different nodes, how to execute your test parallelly. All these things will be covered in depth, right? So this is what the third component, that is Grid, and Grid is available with all different components, all different versions of Selenium, right? So now, is Grid used in the industry? It depends. It depends on the requirement. Wherever you want to do browser compatibility testing, you use Grid. It's not like it's not popular. It depends. Like at times, let's say there are some challenges as well with Grid. So let's say I want to execute my 1,000 test cases on, let's say, 50 machines. Now 50 machines is like investing on a test bed, like a physical 50 machines has to be there. So we need to have that setup, right, where some cost is also involved. So at times what happens, a company, they don't want to invest in all those things. So what they generally do, they buy the same infrastructure on a cloud. So there are some people, they sell their license for this cloud infrastructure. They say that, okay, we're going to provide you 100 machines, we're going to provide you 50 mobile phones, 50 Android and 50 iOS phones. You can just purchase a license from us, you can run the code from your machine, it will be executed remotely on our physical machines itself. And those are the companies who actually invest into Selenium project, right? See, Selenium is open source, but where they are actually earning from? So what is their mode of earning? Why they are like giving everything for free? The initial API is free, but in case your company want to do all these integration, they want to execute their test on 100 different machines, then there are some investors who are investing into Selenium, like Browser Stack is there, Sauce Labs is there. If you go to Sauce Labs, they are actually paying for this project. So they provide you license, and the license is very minimum cost, like company can easily afford it. So you can see these are the tests completed. You can do manual testing, you can do automation testing on their machines. It's like you need to create an account. You can even try it for free. On for one single user, it's free. for limited duration of testing you can do. You can connect to their Mac machine or a Linux machine or a iOS device or Android device. This is just like a configuration. You need to select that, and then you can perform manual testing. Even you write the code, provide some connection string, and it will be executed on their cloud. So that is what these companies they actually provide, and they charge your organization for that. But in case your requirement is not to distribute your test case on multiple machines, you have an infrastructure available, like you can execute your test on limited machines remotely, then no need to buy this license. And rest, WebDriver is entirely free. No license required to work on WebDriver. So that is what the Sauce Lab and Browser Stack and other companies are actually doing it. Right? It's just the integration. So that is all about it. And now we come back to the main concept, like Selenium is an API. So what API contains? API contains the complete project itself. As I said that there is no UI, there is no tool, no exe, no setup file. Then what exactly is Selenium? It's just a collection of the coding part itself, which contains a lot of classes, methods, interfaces, whatever is there in your programming language. A project is actually a project actually consists of all these things. And when you're using this project in some other project, this project becomes as an API for that project. We're going to understand it practically, then it will be very much clear to you. So let's say I'm going to take up a simple example, right? I generally take it in all my demo sessions. So let's say it's a very simple example. Let's say I'm a Java developer. I work with some xyz.com. Now here I got a task that I need to design a calculator. So as a developer, I need to design a calculator. So how to do it? I'll be creating a class with the name as calculator. Now I believe every one of you must have heard what a class is. If you have not practically worked on, if you have never worked on Java, but you must have heard about this, a class. Is there anyone who has never ever touched any programming like C, C++, never in your life? Anyone here in the group? Okay, one is there. Anyone else? You can be frank. Okay, so a couple of you are there who have never done any programming. So see, don't worry about it. If you have never touched any programming language, these two sessions are very lightweight sessions. Even if you know a very little of it, right? You must have like studied in your graduation, like C, C++. Then take these two sessions as a very lightweight sessions, because in these two sessions you'll be understanding how much language, how much programming that you need to learn in order to work on Selenium. Right? Even if you're not familiar with any language, just try to understand the concept. It might be a little challenging for you because you have never used any programming, but after these two sessions, we'll be starting with ABC of core Java. If you have never ever worked on programming, you'll start from the very beginning, from the very scratch. But for today's and tomorrow's session, we'll be exploring the Selenium automation, the API, the tool itself, and we're going to see what amount of programming that is required to work on Selenium. So just try to understand the concept. Don't worry about whether you're feeling it little complex. It is not at all complex. If you know the basics, it is very easy to work on Selenium. Right? So just try to understand the concept. We'll be covering everything in core Java. Don't worry about it. Right? So, okay. So what if I talk about a class? What class contains? What do we have inside a class? Class is a collection of methods, data members, blueprint from which objects are created, methods, objects, data types, a lot of answers are there. Constructors, exactly, exactly. So if I talk about calculator, there are a lot of operations I can do in calculator. I can add something, I can subtract something, I can divide something, I can multiply something, right? So as a developer, if I want to design all these functionalities, I'll be creating these in a form of a function inside this class. So function as in a function called as add. And in this, I'm going to write some code which will going to add some numbers. Now, when we are working in Java, we don't call these things as functions. We call them as methods. So methods and functions both are same thing, right? So we're going to call it as method. Same way, I'm going to create another method called as subtract. I'm going to write some code inside this subtract method. If you call it, it will going to subtract some numbers. Then a method division, a method multiplication, and so on. Let's have designed the entire method. The complete calculator functionality is done. Now I want to check whether this addition method is working fine or not. So I want to call this addition method from this calculator class. How to call a method from a class? Create an object. What is the syntax? Just tell me the syntax. What should I write? Just type it in a chat box. Directly should I write new? Calculator CA equal to new calculator. Okay. So it's something like calculator CALC equal to new calculator. This is how we create an object of a class. Now in this statement, what is an object? In this statement, what is an object? Calc. Okay. Calc. Lot of calc. Okay. Now some are saying new calculator. New. Not getting all this. Don't worry about it, Nikita. I mean, just try to understand the concept. These things will be covered in Java. What is a class? What is object? Once we start with the Java programming, we're going to cover this. New calculator. Okay. So see, I got 70% of the answer as calc. And there are some people who are saying new calculator. So in this statement, what is an object? Is calc is an object or new calculator is an object? Calc is just a variable, a reference variable. I can even write ABC over here. I can even write OBJ over here. XYZ, any name I can give to this variable. An object is always created whenever we say new and the class name. Right? New calculator is an object. I'm going to show this thing practically to you. So how to call a method? Let's say, just remember this statement. In order to call any method from a class, we need to write this statement. This is creating an object. This is called as creating an object. In order to call a method, we need to create an object of a class. Now, how to call a method from a class? obj.add. So I'll again change this to CALC, a meaningful name. So if I want to call addition, I'll say CALC.add. If I run this much code, whatever that is written inside add will be executed. After this, if I want to call divide, I'll say CALC.divide. I'll say CALC.multiply. I'll say CALC.subtract. That's it. So this was the project which is already developed. Now we want to use this project. We want to call the functionality. In order to call the functionality, we first need to create an object of this class and call the method, the functionality one by one. And then once we run it, all the functionality will be executed. Now, right now I'm doing everything on a notepad, but there was a time when we used to write Java code in notepad. But now many editors available in the market with artificial intelligence. If you're not good in coding, these editors helps us a lot. Let's say if there are 1,000 methods written in this class, we cannot learn or remember all those 1,000 methods. So these editors actually helps us. We simply need to say CLC dot, and it shows us list of all the methods, and we can pick the methods from there and call them. So some editors are paid, some are open source, like IntelliJ is there, NetBeans is there, WebStorm is there, Eclipse is there. Eclipse is one of the most popular editor, very widely used in the industry. So we'll be working on Eclipse itself, Eclipse IDE. IDE is not Selenium IDE, it's an integrated development environment, right, which provides us a lot of functionality, and it makes our task very easy, right, while writing code. So what Eclipse is, we're going to look at it in some time. It's completely open source, no license required, but there's a prerequisite. Before you get started with Eclipse, the prerequisite is that you need to have Java installed on your machine. Java as in JDK, Java Development Kit. JDK, the version of Java that we'll be downloading is Java 8. Which is better, Eclipse or IntelliJ? See, there are companies using IntelliJ as well. There are many companies using Eclipse as well. So both are better. If you're more comfortable in IntelliJ, whatever code that we are writing in Eclipse, you can use the same in IntelliJ as well. But I've seen 75% of the audience, they use Eclipse. So we'll be using Eclipse in the training itself. Right? But both are same. Both are just editor itself. Both provide artificial intelligence. So different functionalities. Kajal, I'm going to come like with an example on API as well very soon. But if I take it right now, then most of the people who are very new to automation might gonna get confused. So once I explain this, I'm gonna give you an example on API as well, right? Okay, so the very first prerequisite, even before to start with Selenium, is we need to have Java on our machine. Java as in JDK. So it's very simple, very easy to configure Java. Simply say download JDK 1.8. So you're going to go to this Oracle website. And once you go to this website, you go down. You're going to see that Java is available on different OS, Linux, Mac, Solaris, Windows. If you are on Windows, if your Windows is 32-bit, you need to download this. This is a exe file. If it is 64-bit, you need to download this. Mine is Windows 10 operating system. It is a 64-bit. You can check it from here. You go to PC, properties, and you're going to find it over here. It's a 64-bit operating system. So I'll be downloading this file. Installing Java is very simple. Just click on it, and you can download this exe file. Now there is an additional step from Oracle that in case you want to download this exe file, you need to create, you need to click on this, you need to click on this, and then it may gonna ask you to create a free account on Oracle. So first you need to create an account, then you should be able to download this exe file. Once the exe is downloaded, the setup process is very simple, like you're installing a simple software. Just double click on it, do next, 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 and Java gets installed on your machine. Right, once it is installed, you're going to see it inside your C drive, program files. You're going to see it over here. You'll see a folder of Java over here. If you open this, you're going to see this JDK, and along with it, you're going to find one folder called as JRE. I've actually removed it because I was doing some experiments, so it got deleted, right? But once you install it, you get both JDK as well as JRE. JDK stands for Java Development Kit. JRE is Java Runtime Environment. Now, what is Java Development Kit or what is Java Runtime Environment? Need not to worry about it. We're going to have a detailed discussion of the same in our very first Java lecture, where we'll be starting with what is Java, how Java is originated, ABC of Java, what is JRE, what is JVM, what is JDK. We're going to have all these detailed discussion in the very first session of Core Java. So need not to worry about it. And there are some additional configuration, setting up of environment variables that is also required. So that we are not going to do it in our today's session. We're going to do that tomorrow because today we have a limited time. So it's already 10 and I need to show you a lot of examples. So we have half an hour left. So we're going to do that configuration in our tomorrow's session. But once Java is installed, you go to command prompt and type java -version. We're going to show you current version of Java on your machine. If you get this message, then it means Java is successfully configured on your machine. Java 8 is old. Latest Java is Java 14. But if you integrate Java 14 with other components like Jenkins, Maven, they might not going to support it. That is the challenge. I've seen a lot of people struggling in their Eclipse project, in their Jenkins project, while they're using latest JDK. So if they switch back to 1.8, everything is running smoothly. So that's the reason, like it's always recommended to use JDK 1.8 because whatever functionality we need for Selenium is available in 1.8. Right? Most of the people you will find it in the industry is using 1.8 itself for Selenium. Yeah, I'm actually recording this session. Once we are done with the session, I'm gonna email you the recording link as well. Don't worry about it. All right. So after this JDK, we simply go to Google again and say download Eclipse. And there are a lot of components in Eclipse as well. You'll not be directly clicking on download 64-bit from here. You need to go to download packages because Eclipse is like an editor. Okay, you want me to share the notepad as well? Sure, I'm gonna share that thing as well. I'll save this notepad file as well. Okay, so Eclipse is just an editor. You can see Eclipse supports Java, Eclipse supports C, C++, PHP, even Ruby, Python, JavaScript, different languages you can use with Eclipse as well. It's not only for writing Java code. You can write Python as well, Python code as well, JavaScript code as well. A lot of programming languages are supported. We need Eclipse for a very basic core Java component. So we'll be downloading this one, ID for Enterprise Java Developers. And based on your operating system, you're going to get a link over here. Just click on it and Eclipse will be downloaded as a zip file. Once you download it, it will gonna come like this. I've already downloaded it. So this is how Eclipse is gonna look. You'll get a zip file, unzip it. There's the zip file, unzip it. You get a folder, and you see all these files over here. Nothing installable in Eclipse. This is the application. Double click on it, and this will launch Eclipse. If Java is not installed, you're gonna get error over here itself. So the very first prerequisite is to install Java, then launch Eclipse. Now here it is asking for a workspace. So workspace is basically a location, whatever coding that you are going to do will be inside a workspace itself. So you'll be storing that on your disk. That is where, that is what your workspace is. Whatever code that you're going to write will get stored at some location. Later on, you want to use the same code. You just need to provide the path of that project over here and it will be launched in your workspace. Like we are starting from beginning. So I'm going to name this batch as batch. Today's date is 25th July 2020 Selenium. So on D drive workspaces, there will be a folder that will be created. If I go to D drive workspaces, so a folder created. So what all coding that I'm going to do will be stored at this particular location. Later on, I want to open the same project. I'm just going to give this path in my workspace and it will be launched. So once it is launched, this is the very first screen you're going to see in Eclipse. That is the welcome screen. Just close it. And this is your workspace. This is your project explorer. Here you'll be creating a new project, adding classes, creating a hierarchy in your project, adding packages, folders, and number of things will be there. Here you'll be writing the code. All the coding part will be done here. And here you're going to see the output of that code. So we're going to start creating a very simple Java project first. I'm going to click on create a project and select Java project from here. Click on next. Give any name to this project. Let's say I'm designing a calculator. So I'm going to give that name as calculator project and click on finish. Click on open. That's it. So you're going to see a project created over here. If you open this, you're going to see two things over here. One is your SRC folder. This is also called as a source folder. Here you'll be maintaining all your classes, interfaces, writing code. The entire coding part will be kept over here. Anything you are going to use in your project will be kept over here. And then along with the code, you can see something called a JRE system library. If I expand it, you're going to see these are jar files. These jar file contains internal Java classes which are mapped to your project. Now, what happened when we used to write code in Notepad? In case you have ever worked on C, C++, you need to manually do these things, include conio.h, include studio.h, right? In case you have ever worked on core Java Notepad, you need to add all these things manually. Import java.util.star, import n number of other libraries. But when we are working on Eclipse or any other IDE like IntelliJ, we need not to worry about these imports. All these things will be automatically added because Java internal classes are mapped to our project over here. Now, our focus is just to create our own class. By right-clicking on source folder, say new, and click on class. And we again got a template over here, which is asking for a class name. Class name always starts from a capital letter. So if I'm creating a class called as calculator, I'll start it with a capital C. I'll say calculator and check this public static void main and click on finish. So you're going to see a sample code written over here. I'll just increase the font size. Now there are a lot of things written over here. Something called as public class static void, something in reddish color, something in black color. All these reddish color are some predefined keywords. What is public, what is static, what is void? You need not to worry about it right now. We have a whole big lecture in core Java on the same. Public, private, protected, these things are called as access modifiers. Static, non-static members are there. Void, int, string, these are return type to a method. This whole thing is a method. This thing is a class, right? What are these things? We need not to worry about it. We'll be studying all these things in the core Java part, right? So, okay, I got some questions. Yeah, Nikita, I'll be sharing the recording soon. Don't worry about it. You can follow these process and you can configure these things before you join the tomorrow session. You can have this set up on your machine. So I'll be sharing it with you. Okay, so these are comments. I can remove them. Now this is a main method. By default method in core Java. Anything you want to execute in Java should be written inside this main method. Means anything like if you have ever worked on C, how to print in C? How we print in C? What do we write? Scanf, printf. Yeah, it's printf exactly. And how about C++? How do we print in C++? C out for printing exactly. And how about core Java? System out println exactly. So see, the very first program of any programming language is to print something. So in order to print in Java, we add it inside system out println. So like the very first program is to print hello world. So if I do system out println hello world, this is the run button. If I click on this, you're going to see in the console window, it will going to print hello world, right? But we are not here to print hello world. We are understanding what an API is. That is the reason we have started designing this calculator. So as I said, calculator contains various methods. A method like add, subtract, divide, multiply. So I'll be designing all those methods over here. Right, guys, who are very new to programming, don't try to learn anything right now. Just try to understand the concept. Right, we'll be dealing with all these things in the core Java lectures. So in order to make you understand what Selenium is and how we're going to work on Selenium, so I need to design this right now. But these things will be covered from scratch, so don't worry about it. Just try to understand the concept. So I'm going to design a method by saying something like this: public void add. Right, forget about what public void is. Just this is a method name, and a method name always starts from a small letter. Even if you see core Java, automatically a main method is created and a method start from a small letter, and class always starts from a capital letter. There's something called as camel casing, which is followed in industry. It's not like if I started with a capital letter, it will going to throw me any error. It is not going to throw me any error. But there are some coding standards, something called as camel casing. Now, what camel casing is, which everyone follows in the industry, let's say if there is a class name, or if there is a name, something called as the dark night, which is a combination of 3 words. If I read it as it is, it's not very readable. To make it readable, if it is a class name, it always starts from a capital letter, and any joining word will be in caps. Same way, if it is a method name, it will going to start from small letter. Any joining word will be in caps. This is what camel casing is. So next time, if you are reading any developer's project, you should be able to understand, okay, this is a class or this is a method. Because there's the same approach everyone follows in the industry. So method name always start from a small letter, and class always start from a capital letter. So in this public void add, I'm going to write some code which will going to add some numbers. But we haven't started the programming yet. So I'm just going to print something. Printing as in I'm going to write adding some numbers. Adding some numbers. So when you call this add, it will going to print adding some numbers. Same way, I'm just going to copy this and create some more methods. Call it as subtract some numbers, divide some numbers, multiply some numbers. Right. So one by one, I've created the entire functionality. Now I want to call this addition method. How are we going to call it? We have just seen by creating an object of calculator class. And how to create it? This is how we create it. So I'll just copy this statement and go over here. Inside the main method, I'm going to paste it like this. And this is a correct statement. We're not getting any errors. Errors means if I write calculators instead of calculator, you can see it is highlighted in red color, because Eclipse is not able to understand what calculators is. If you do a mouse over, it will start giving you suggestions. It's saying that it cannot be resolved to a type. Now you can see this thing is called as type. So if you're talking about this statement, this is a type. Type, you could also refer it to something called as a data type. Right? This is basically called as a type. So Eclipse is not able to understand that what type it is, because there is nothing called as calculators. So it is giving a suggestion: create a class calculators. But we have already created a class called as calculator. Why should we create calculators? In the next statement, it is saying change to calculator. If I click on this, it will be changed to calculator. And now if I say calc dot, it will show me list of all the methods that we have created. So we have a method add, we have a method divide, multiply, subtract. We can call the methods one by one. So if I call calc.add, if I run this, whatever written inside addition will be executed. Same way, if I do calc.subtract, calc.divide, calc.multiply, save it, run it, you can see everything is executed, right? Now, there is one more method which has got a same name as of the class name. What we call it as? Like we have add, we have subtract. There is one more method which has got a same name as of the class name. What we call it as? Constructor. What are constructors? In C++ as well, we have constructors. What are constructors? To instantiate the object. What else? What are constructors? How about others? Initialize the object. Constructors are called when object of a class is created. How about others? That's true. All these statements are true. Anything else? It cannot return value. Very true. There is nothing called as void over here, int over here, string over here. Right? I've just written it like this. It cannot, okay, special type of method with same name as of the class name, no return type. Yes, all these statements are true. So constructor is like a method only, but it has got a same name as of the class name. Like we have addition, we have subtraction, we have another method with the name calculator, but it is same as of the class name. I can write some code over here as well. I can go inside this and I can simply write calling constructor, something like this. This is like a method only, right? Salesh, for that, just drop me an email on my mail ID, trainer@way2automation.com, and I'll let you know the process. Okay, so constructor is just like a method, but now if I'm saying it is like a method, how should I call it? Should I go over here like I've called other methods? Should I say calc.calculator? See, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it in the list. How to call this method? No need to call it. It is already called. Okay. See, constructor is something which gets called automatically as soon as we create an object of a class. So as soon as the object is created, the very first thing that is called is a constructor. Even if you don't call these methods, even if you don't call this method, you have written this statement where you are creating the object. As soon as you click on the run button, the very first thing you can see it's called is calling constructor. You need not to explicitly call it like a method. Right? As soon as an object is created, the very first thing that is called is constructor. Now we were discussing about what is an object. In this statement, what is an object? Many people says calc is an object. Let's assume calc is an object. We're going to remove this. We'll remove this. This is still a valid statement. See, no error over here. It is still a valid statement. Now, if this is an object, if I run this, then constructor should be called, right? Now tell me, if I click on run button, will the constructor be called or not? No, it will be not. Exactly. So all no's are there. Exactly. If I click on run button, see, nothing will happen, which means this is not a constructor. This is not an object, right? Calc is not an object. Now what I'll do, I'll remove this part. Still it is a valid statement. Now tell me, if I run this, will the constructor be called or not? Okay. So most of the people are saying yes, it will be called. Some are saying no, it will not be called. So 90% yes. Okay, so let's run it. Let's see. See, calling constructor, right? So this is where the object is created. Whenever you say new and the class name, the constructor is called, the object is initialized, right? So now when object is created by just saying new calculator, why we need that calci? Why we need calculator calci? When object is created by just saying new calculator, an object is created. Why we need calci? To call the methods. So it means if I want to call add, we need that calci, right? Calci.add, calci.subtract. If calci is not there, will I be able to call add or not? Will I be able to call add, subtract if calci is not there? Okay, many people are saying no, many people are saying yes. So for the people who are saying yes, how to call add then? If there is no calci, how will I call addition? Exactly. We can simply say new calculator dot add like this. And if I run this, you're gonna see adding some numbers executed. But what if I want to call subtract? How will I do that? How to call subtract now? Yes, again we need to do new calculator dot subtract, right? New calculator dot divide, new calculator dot multiply. So if we run this, now you can see in the console how many times constructor called? 4 times. Means 4 objects are created in a memory. And if we are calling 100 methods, then 100 objects will gonna get created in the memory. This is what I don't want. I want only one object to be created, and all the methods should be referred from the same object reference. So for that, what I did, wherever the object is created in a memory, I'm gonna store that address into some variable. I can name anything to that variable. I can even say ABCD equal to this. Generally, we give it a meaningful name like CLC. Now you know that in Java, every variable must have some type. Like you are storing a value 100 in a variable. You say value equal to 100. What will be the type of this variable? So what will be the type? Integer, int, very true. So we'll be storing it like this, int. Can I store it like string value equal to 100? Can I, instead of int, can I change it to string? No. Boolean? No. Why? Because whatever the value is, the type should be corresponding to that only. If I write string over here, this will gonna throw me an error. And if you mouse over, Eclipse will say that cannot convert from int to string. In order to convert into string, you either need to put it inside double quotes like this. It means if in case you want to store hello, you can store it only inside string. You cannot store it inside int, right? I cannot write int over here. It will again throw me an error. So whatever value is, the data type will be corresponding to that value only. If I talk about string, what is string? What is string in Java? What is string? True. How about others? Set of characters, data types, group of characters, class, sequence of characters. So most of the people says class. That's true. String is not just a data type, it is also a class in Java. It's an internal class in Java. Now, if this is a class, if string is a class, then what is value? Reference variable. value is not a type. Value is just a variable, right? Over here, we can call it as a reference variable. So if this is a reference variable, if we do value dot, you can see we get list of methods from this class. So you can see with every method, you have the string written over here. So string is an internal class in Java. Same way, if I talk about this calculator, I cannot write int over here. The type cannot be Boolean over here. It will be of the same type that this object belongs to. So calculator, this belongs to a calculator class, so the type will be calculator only. Even if you do a this whole thing creates an object. And now if you say calc dot, you should able to get all the methods from this class. Just a moment, guys. Just a moment. Looks like some connectivity issue. Just a moment. Yeah. So now if I do calc dot add, calc dot subtract, calc dot divide, calc dot multiply, save this and run this. Now you're going to see only and only one constructor is called and all the methods, one object is created and all the methods are referred from the same object reference. Now let's say we have created calculator and we have tested all the functionalities. Inside the calculator is working fine. I may have written some 100 lines of code in this addition method with a very complex logic. Now, what I want that I want to share this project in the market as a free of cost project so that anyone from any part of the country, any part of the world wants to do some addition, subtraction, he should not be recreating all these methods. He can use the functionality that I have created. So I want to launch it as a open source project. Now, open source does not only means I'm launching it free of cost. Open source means next time any developer comes in, if he likes my project, if he wants to include more functionality related to calculating percentage, square root, and number of other functionality, he can update it over here as well. Right? Anyone can contribute in the development part. If someone wants to use it free of cost, can access the functionality, addition, division, subtraction, he can easily do that. And for that, what I did is I just right clicked on this project, gone to export, selected this Java and clicked on the jar file. So I'll click on next, give a jar file name, calculator, the very first version 1.0.jar. And I'm going to store it on my desktop over here. So if I go back over here, you're going to see a jar file created. This is the jar file that just got created. Calculator 1.0 jar file. Now it's nothing like if I double click on it, it will going to install calculator on my machine. It is not going to do any installation, right? With this jar file, we're only going to come to know how many classes are there, how many methods are there, and if in case we want to access those methods, we can easily access it with the help of this jar file. Now, after designing this jar file, what I did, I uploaded this jar file on my website because website can be accessed from any part of the world. So next time, if anyone wants to do any addition, division, deletion, he need not to write the complete code again. He can go to my website, download this jar file and access the functionality, perform addition, division, whatever is included in this library. So what I did, let's say once we are done with this project, I left this organization. I'm going to close this project. So I just close this project. And now I joined a new company, a new organization. Let's say I joined some HSBC bank. So I joined as a Java developer over there. So they were also having one of the Java project. Their let's say banking domain was designed. Their banking project was designed in Java itself. So there was a project which was already created by them. Was something like HSBC project. And in this project, there were some classes which were already designed by them. One of the class was named as banking. So they created one class with the name as banking. And there were a lot of functionality available over here. One was a method to create profit. One was a method to generate some loss statements. So there was some functionality already available, and I was hired in between of this project. When I joined this company, a lot of classes were there, a lot of methods were there. I was joined in between of this project. They asked me to implement a functionality that could add salaries for a number of employees. So something related to, I need to design a method with the name as add. And if I talk about the functionality of this method, let's assume this is the same functionality we have designed in the previous calculator project. Everything line to line is same. And now I need to implement the same logic over here in this project as well. Now there are two ways to design it. Either I start writing the entire code again. So there was like 500 lines of code I've written at that point of time with very complex logic. I can write it over here as well. That's not an issue, but it will gonna take me like, let's say 10 days to complete it. But why to put so much effort when the same functionality is available in a free of cost library? I can directly download that library and integrate into my project. How? I went to their website, downloaded their jar file, and then I right clicked on my project, gone to build path, clicked on add external archives, and selected this jar file, clicked on open, and you can see this jar file is added as a reference library to my project. If I expand it, you're going to see calculator class and the same methods that I've designed in that project. But I'm not able to see the code written inside addition method. But still, you should be able to access the functionality. At times, developers, they don't expose their code, but you still be able to implement the functionality, call this functionality. Normally, in an open source project, people give away their coding part as well, because open source means anyone can contribute. So if we are able to see the coding part, we can contribute into the development as well. But let's say the coding part is not visible over here. Still, I can access this additional functionality. How? By creating object of this calculator class, calculator calc equal to new calculator. And see, I'm not getting any error. Eclipse is able to understand what calculator is. How? With the help of this jar file. If this jar file is not there, if I go to build path and remove it, then you can see I start getting errors. Because how banking will gonna come to know what is calculator? It is a class in some third party project. So we are adding that third party project to this project through build path, add external archive with the help of this jar file. And now it is able to understand that yes, calculator is a class. And if you want to access the functions, the method inside this class, you need to create an object of this class. After creating object, if you go over here, if you say calc.add, you should be able to see all the methods: add, then divide, then subtract. So whatever method you want to call, simply call that method. Change the name of this to add salary, let's say. And now, in case you want to call this add salary, you want to execute it, you need a main method. So I'm going to add this main method over here. And how to call this add salary? Again, you need to create an object of banking class. So whichever method you want to call, you need to create an object of that class. If you want to call it from banking, say banking b equal to new banking. And when you say b dot, you get add salary. Save this and run this. You're going to see same adding some number functionality is executed without rewriting the code that was written inside addition method. The same code is executed over here with the help of this jar file. So if we talk about this jar file, this is what an API is. This acts as an API to HSBC Bank project. And if we are talking about Selenium, Selenium is one of the same thing. Selenium is available in a form of a single jar file or multiple collection of jar files. In case you want to use your Selenium project over here in this project, you can easily do that. For that, you just need to go to selenium.dev, the main website, click on downloads and download this one single jar file. That's it. If you click on this, so it is going to download one single jar file. This is one single jar file. Just a 10 MB jar file. If you go over here, I've already downloaded it. So that's the reason it's showing index 2 over here, but I've kept it over C drive, D drive, jars, and this is the jar file. I'll just rename it. This is the jar file, just a 10 MB jar file. Now what I'll do, in case I want to access Selenium in this project, I'll just right click over here, go to build path, add external archives, go to the location where we have Selenium jar file, click on open, and that's it. That is the only configuration required for Selenium. And now you can automate any website available on the web with just this one single jar file. So what you need? You need JDK, you need Eclipse, you need this jar file, and that's it. Now you can automate any website, build up in any language, any complex website. So if in case you want to launch any application, instead of this banking, see what we did, we got calculator class from the calculator jar file. Now when we have added Selenium jar file, we're gonna get Selenium related classes. So instead of this, I'm gonna call one of the class called as Chrome driver. I'll create object of this class, Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver. That's it. And see, the class is added, no errors. Now what happens if I run this? Okay, there is one additional thing from browser point of view. Selenium will not directly going to interact with the browser. This class will not directly going to interact with the browser. The browser vendors, they provide their APIs, which is available in a form of some executable file. You need those executable files as well. What are those executable files? Once we study the architecture of WebDriver, I'm going to explain you why we need those executable files. But for the time being, what you need to do, I'll show you what that file is, and I'll let you know where you need to download it. So this is something related, something called as Chrome driver. And okay, let me tell you where you need to download it, because you'll be downloading it as well. So if you go down, see, this is where you downloaded Selenium chart. If you go down, you're gonna see that browsers over here, and you're gonna find, see all the browsers: Firefox, IE, Safari, Opera, Chrome, Edge. This is required for all the browsers. Whichever browser that you're working on, you need to download the API provided by that browser. Otherwise, Selenium will not be able to communicate with your browser. So go to this documentation part. From here, you need to check your browser version first. So I'll check about Chrome. This is the version 84. And corresponding to this, I'll be downloading this 84. Click on this, and available for Linux, Mac, and Windows. Windows, it's only 32-bit. It will work for 64-bit as well. So let's download this. I'll start download. It is downloaded. So go to downloads, and this is over here. I'll copy this and move it over here and extract it. So I'm going to get the same exe file. This is the exe file. I need this exe to communicate with the Chrome browser. And what you need to do, just copy this exe. There's nothing much you need to do for the time being. Go to your project and paste it in your project. Right click on your project, paste it. That's it. That is the only thing you need. Right? Just this driver executable. That's it. And coding part, you just did this. Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver. Like you did calculator calc equal to new calculator, banking B equal to new banking. Now you're doing Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver. That's it. And now if you run this, see what happens. See, a Chrome browser is launched. That's it. And now, so how Chrome browser is launched? By just writing this statement, Chrome browser is launched. So where is the code written for launching Chrome browser? Like for adding some numbers, the code was written inside addition method, right? We called addition and it has executed adding some numbers. But where is the code written to launch a browser? WebDriver? We haven't used anything called as WebDriver. In the Selenium API, exactly inside the jar file. Inside the jar file that we have added, because addition method was written inside calculator jar and Chrome driver is written inside this jar file. So where inside this jar file? Where exactly inside the jar file? If I expand it, you're going to see hundreds of packages over here. And each package contains hundreds of classes. It's a huge API, right? So we don't expand it. We don't see it from here. There's a documentation. I'll show you where you read all these classes. So the code is actually written inside Chrome driver class. That's true. But where inside Chrome driver class? So some developer might have created this Chrome driver class and must have written some, let's say 100 lines of code to launch this browser. But where inside this class he has written the code? In some method? Which method? Have you called any method yet? Have you called any method? No. Then where? Child class? Constructor, exactly. So as soon as we create an object, the very first thing that is called is a constructor. So even if you don't write this, if you simply write new Chrome driver and run this, you're gonna see a browser is launched because the code is written inside the constructor itself to launch the browser. And now in case you want to do navigation, you want to do typing, hitting the elements, clicking, n number of other tasks, automate all your manual test cases, you just need to create this reference. You say driver dot, you should be able to get all the methods inside this class. The very first method you're going to call is get. See, it asks for URL. In which format? String format. String means double quotes. Say http waytoautomation.com. Save it, run it again, and now you're going to see it will launch the browser and navigate to waytoautomation.com. Right? Now you can start calling methods one by one and you can automate the entire website. That is how you'll be working on Selenium. But yes, before you get started, you should be familiar with what classes, what objects are, how methods are called, how we can create a method, what are arguments to the method, what is new, what is constructor. So these are the basic concepts which you'll be going through with the core Java part first. The people who have already done core Java must be familiar with all these concepts and must be able to understand what we are doing right now. People who are not familiar with Java, once you go through the core Java part, you should be able to understand these things very easily. because we have not done anything like a rocket science, right? It's a very simple code. This is the same code. You get it once you record and play. Like we did record and play, we got the same code over here. See driver.get. You can see equal to driver equal to new Chrome driver, driver.get. And rest all things are also very simple. Driver.close will close the browser. One by one, you can keep calling methods and you can automate the entire website. Till now, is there any difference in working on Mac or Windows? Till now, coding point of view, there is no difference. For configuration, configuring Java on Mac is little bit different as compared to Windows. So those steps I'm gonna let you know. There is something called as bash profile, which you need to configure for environment variables. So that is something that you need to add. Right, I'm gonna show you those things as well for Mac as well as for Windows both. Right. So today, like I think it's more than 2 hours of a session now, and I can sense that like most of the people are still active. You are not bored in the session, right? So we're gonna continue with this demo. It's a big demo, so we cannot cover everything in one day. I'll in tomorrow's session, I'm gonna show you some part on mobile execution as well. I'm gonna show you how to execute on real mobile device. Then we're going to do some configuration around some build tools. We're going to understand what Maven is, what Jenkins is. These are the things we'll be looking at in our tomorrow session. So tomorrow will again not be very programming sort of lesson. Will not be touching a lot of coding part tomorrow. So don't be afraid of the coding part. But yes, after tomorrow's session, people who are very new will be starting with the Java part. And people who are already done with Java we're going to start from their WebDriver part from the next session, right? So that's all for the today's session. Okay, I have some questions. Yeah, I'll be forwarding you the recording soon. I'm going to show you like something where we actually host all these recordings. So there's a website, selenium-tutorial.com. So all our live lectures will be uploaded over here. So there are a couple of courses that you're going to get access to. One is the Selenium one. I'll also going to give you additional access on mobile automation. This is something very unique. You'll not find it in the industry. This is 7 live projects. So this is for the people who are already done with Selenium and want to go to the next level of Selenium. Specifically with the architecture design and the framework design, you're going to find I've created 7 different projects on different frameworks. What all latest use in the market: page objects, page factories, Cucumber, Dockers, multi-threading. So a lot of unique concepts. I mean, the complex concepts which are not in the initial Selenium course, you're going to find it in this one. Once you are enrolled, you're going to get access to all these things. Then all our Java and Selenium, whatever that we are doing in the live sessions, will be hosted over here. These are the recordings from our live sessions. So I'm going to find it over. This is the previous batch. This is the batch May 20, the people who are already done with the Java. So their Java part is over here. And after the Java will be hosting the Selenium recordings over here, right? So some of the Java initial recordings are freely accessible. I'm going to share this link with you in case you want to go through the basic Java programming part before you are enrolled. You can even try playing around these videos. Just navigate to the seleniumtutorial.com. So I've already shared you in the email what all links you're going to get access to. So these are the things we're gonna have detailed discussion in tomorrow's session, because today we are already running out of time, right? But yes, it is going to be very interactive sessions. You're gonna get so many things for learning, and for sure, once you are successfully done with the training, you should be able to justify your 2-3 years of current experience in Selenium easily. And automating a website should not be a big deal for you. be it any complex, any dynamic website, you should be able to handle it. You should be able to work on frameworks. You should be able to integrate all Jenkins, Maven, all these things we're going to learn in depth. For CV creation, yes, I do have very good CVs with me that I'm going to share it with you. All the interview questions will be there. Plus, you'll be added to the WhatsApp group of this batch. So we're going to have a very good learning experience. So rest assured about that. Okay, regarding the course fee, it's in Indian currency, it's 11,000, which can be paid in 2 installments of 5.5, and after 1 month 5.5. Same way, in case you talk about USD, it's 159 USD, which can be divided into 2 installments. In case you pay in one go, you get some discount. So 10,000 is in INR for one-time payment, and 149 USD is for one-time payment. So this is for the 3 months duration, covers the entire core Java training, entire Selenium training. You get access to all the video library. Video library will be for lifetime access, and this Selenium training will be whole 1 year access. 1 year access means that if after this batch, if you still want to repeat the next batch as well, you can do that without paying any extra cost. So you can keep on repeating your batches till the time you're not expert in Selenium, till the time you're not very confident, you can keep on repeating these batches. So batches will be over the weekends only. During the weekdays, it's not like you'll not be practicing during the weekdays. You're gonna get so many assignments, live websites for automation, that you'll be practicing during the weekdays, and you'll be going through these videos as well. So during weekdays, you're also going to get my support. In case you get stuck anywhere, you can ping me on Skype. You can even come online, share your screen. In case you get stuck with any installation part, I can directly access your machine by a software called as TeamViewer. So this is a free software. You can install it on your machine, and you just need to provide me your ID and password, and I can access your machine. So during the weekdays, you'll get the support. During the weekends, we'll be doing the live sessions, right? So Priya, the courses that you're going to have access to are related to Selenium, mobile automation, and the automation architect, even the Cucumber part. So there are around 6 courses. I think I've already shared it in the initial email where you have got that meeting invites. So you can just try going through that, right? Thanks, Jan. So yeah, soft notes. There are many PDF files. I'm gonna share it with you related to core Java. For Selenium, I generally don't refer explaining it via PPTs or PDF, but there are some ebooks that I'll be sharing it to you. But for Selenium, I'll be writing everything with my own hand. Even if we talk about frameworks, I'll not be picking up any framework which is already built and going to explain it to you. I'll be designing the entire framework in front of you, each and every single line of code, so that you should get a real-time experience on how to work on frameworks, right? So how soon you can register for the course? Even you can register it anytime you want. Once you are enrolled, you get access to all the video lectures. You can even go to the website for this. So the website is waytoautomation.com. And here, if you navigate to the Selenium, this is Selenium Java online training. So from here, you can directly enroll yourself. So people outside India can pay through PayPal if you click on this. So this is for Indian currency, and this is for PayPal. So once you are enrolled, you get access to all the videos. You'll be included in the group. And rest, there is one more demo session in case you want to see one more session tomorrow. You want to enroll after that, so you can do that thing as well, right? So that's all about today's session. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. So we're gonna do some interacting session tomorrow as well. Yeah, I'll be giving you the certificate of course completion once you are done with the course, right? So thanks a lot, guys. Thank you so much for your time. We'll meet tomorrow. So you must have the meeting invite. So just join on the same meeting invite for tomorrow. Thank you, Vijay. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Prerna. Thank you, guys.